Hello, hello, hello. It's 5 o'clock New York time, and we are live on the World Wide Web streaming around the world. Oh, that's so cool. I remember when radio stations had a 75-mile radius around those FM jobbies. Anyway, we are here to talk about the trade war. Donald Trump has decided that getting in a trade war will play well with his base, showing that he's keeping his promises and making sure that everybody can have a job in a factory or coal mine, or if you're really lucky, a steel mill. Now he has announced he's proceeding with sanctions against China. The demands are to reduce their balance of trade deficit by $200 billion, which is an impossibility. And they're gearing for a trade war. Now, China is not taking us laying down. They have now started going to other people in the trading bloc. Remember, they had a Trans-Pacific Partnership? Well, China's leading that deal. And Japan is in it, and Europe's in it, and we're not. And I thought we were supposed to have the art of the deal negotiate. No one even tried to negotiate it. So now what China's doing, you think, well, let's align the rest of the world against America. Let's have a trading bloc that excludes American cars, excludes American intellectual property, includes America's service industry, and let's see if the world can live without America. Now, it's a very interesting ploy because China on its own has a problem. They just don't buy that much from America. But when you look at Europe and the rest of the world, they do. And China has been very busy with England. And remember, ever mindful, England's leaving the European Union, and they have to forge new trade alliances, and China's one they're hungry for. Now you've got the financial alliances. Remember, a lot of companies are moving offshore because of much stricter European regulations that are at the point of being absurd and ridiculous. And now all of a sudden people are saying, well, you know, in the day of the Internet, we don't have a border problem. You don't have to drive down to the Edward D. Jones office and fill out your paperwork. And the quote screens can be anywhere in the world. And all of a sudden, there's a world opening up that maybe Donald Trump doesn't understand. It's called the Internet. And it involves Internet banking, Internet trading, Internet buying, Internet selling. And all of a sudden, trade becomes very foggy. If I can't get goods to come in through China, well, they'll come in through Vietnam. If they can't come through Vietnam, well, they'll come in through Canada. If they can't come from Canada, they'll come some way, somehow. And now what's happening is supply chains are getting very complicated. America has to trade with someone. And this trade war may blow up in his face. Now, China may not understand this, but you and I understand that Donald Trump's very worried about the midterm elections. And everything he's doing is in light of collusion, no collusion. Witch hunt is a witch hunt. The probe is illegal because it was based on false information and try to get it stopped. Now, that happy day he's not going to see. But midterm elections come along. The Republicans pull out a surprise win. His base pops out the election polls. Well, let me tell you. A House-led majority will absolutely, by the Republicans, will absolutely stop the investigation. See, the politicians got no balls before an election. They don't want to get involved in this right now. After the election, if Donald Trump delivers, he's the kingmaker. He's the guy, the big guy. And that means that he can get his will. Now, on the other side of the coin, if he loses, the first thing the House is going to do, full of Democrats, is impeach him. And they probably got a good chance of getting something done. So to Donald Trump, this is all or nothing. It's about the very survival of his presidency. So how does he make it work? Well, the tax break bonanza for billionaires didn't work out so good. The increase in gasoline prices is hurting his core group of people, and he's had to sit down with the Saudis and explain that that's a problem for him, and that's going to go away. Now the problem is that companies did not put the tax break bonanza for billionaires into bonuses, did not increase pay. So now he has got to do this one of I was going to increase your pay, the Democrats stopped me. I was going to get the factories there, but what happened was we're going to have to get tough with our trade neighbors. And Donald Trump needs in the headlines that he's starting a war over jobs with China and Mexico and Canada and Europe, and that's the direction he's moving in. From a standpoint of getting elected, it's a clever ploy. It might be one of the few options he has. Constituency says, listen, you guys got to come out. The deep state's attacking me. You saw what they did. They stopped me from being effective. You all would have had a raise by now. Obamacare would have been where? You would have free health care. Obamacare would have gone away. And I could have done all kinds of wonderful things, like infrastructure project where everybody with a D9 is plowing up the ground and we're filling potholes and making America great again, but I just couldn't do it. I got the M13 gangs coming in there. Holy shit. The wall, we need to build the wall, but I need your support. And I need to put these trade sanctions in there because they are killing our jobs. And looky here. I've got trade sanctions against everyone on the planet. No one's going to take your jobs ever again. And it's a really clever ploy. It will play well in Peoria. Billy Bob's going to love it and suck it up. And it may just save his ass. So that means that trade wars that don't make sense from a trade standpoint, trade wars that are not winnable, trade wars that will cost us more than it'll cost the people we're in the wars with, doesn't make any difference. Because it's not about the trade. It's not about leveling the trading playing field. It's not about balancing trade deficits. It's about the illusion of Billy Bob that Donald the Great Trump is fighting for his blue-collar, bib overhaul, blue jean suit. And it's all about making him great again and making jobs and stopping this horrible attack on our enemies. If you think about it, it's really clever. Now, from a trade standpoint, from an economic standpoint, this is a disaster. Listen, the economy goes into recession, Donald Trump can say, look, the deep state conspiracy, they're raising interest rates, they're crippling our economy, they are stopping you from getting the benefits you deserve. Come with me and we'll throw them out, but I need you to vote. This Republican in this district, this Republican here, and Donald Trump gets to fill the House and the Senate full of Republicans who are beholden to him. It's clever. He understands a media machine. He understands better than anyone how to, enlighten and enrage that core, and he might just pull it off. Now, the outcome of this is going to be trade wars. Ugly, nasty, devastating trade wars. Now, forget Peoria. Let's talk about enlightened minds. Let's talk about us business people. Let's talk about people who understand how the world works. We've got the Fed raising rates. They are not going to back away. The unemployment report is going to show that, employment is soaring, and the Fed understands it has to do something about that. The other problem they have is they've absolutely, positively have got to get this economy whipped into shape. That means that they have to prepare for the next recession. That means they've got to get interest rates higher. The yield curve flattened. You saw the big move in it yesterday, right? It scared the shit out of it. Anything that shows the global economy is shutting down, like Latin America debt crisis, like the Eurozone sovereign debt crisis, which has not gone away by a long shot, and you can see how the traders are dumping stocks, corralling their positions, going into U.S. government treasuries en masse. So you've got the laboratory. You know how it's going to work. The dollar will soar in value. We will be paying the highest interest rates of anyone. Europe cannot afford to raise rates. See, Europe is still in a stimulation mode. They're, 2 years behind us. I've now seen that the pundits have done this. Well, maybe Fed doesn't have to raise rates so much. Maybe they see the yield curve flattening and they're concerned. Let me tell you straight out, bullshit. The Fed is raising rates 3 more times. They're going to raise rates every quarter. The second quarter rate in June, okay, and July, and September, and November, okay? They're raising rates every single quarter. They have no choice. The problem is they've got to cool things down on the job market side. They have got to get hype for the next recession. Now, look, it's a disaster out there. Donald Trump's budget is just shy of a deficit of $1 trillion a year. Now, remember, Obama got the deficit down to $375 billion, and Donald Trump promptly has picked it up to $1 trillion a year for the next 4 years moving out. We got the GDP report today, right? And that was supposed to be getting, showing us how we're getting close to 3%, 2.2% growth. Everyone acknowledges that makes the deficit soar. That cuts tax revenue dramatically. And that is a no-shit screw-up, a crash at the end of the runway. So you've got to understand that this is all about the politics, not about the economics. Now, if you're going to build the economy to the economics of the factory worker, if you're going to invite companies to come to America and manufacture, if you're going to make steel here and coal here, well, you're going back to the dark days of the Industrial Revolution, and you're leaving the most profitable things behind. Okay? In other words, it's just not smart policy from a standpoint of the economy, from the standpoint of growth. I mean, where do we want to position ourselves? Artificial intelligence or steel? Robotics or coal? I mean, exactly what is the country going to? Are we going to the internet wired world with 5G? Are we going to digitization of the planet? Hell, yes, we are. Are we going to robots replacing workers? Yeah. But that is not in Donald Trump's playbook, okay? That is not in the mantra of the Republicans. So, therefore, what we're doing is we're basically at war against ourselves. It's really incredible. And as we analyze this, the way we see this is that it's a big, big bummer for the market. It is a big downer for the economy. It's destructo time. Okay, so that means we have more confidence in our trades than ever before. The stock market has peaked like we told you it would. It's down there. The rally attempts keep reversing, as you're seeing. The dollar is soaring in value. It comes back and forth and climbing higher and higher. Gold and silver fall from every rally attempt. Interest rates are going higher, and I know you love the 3% and the 10%. In the 10 years I got you into, congratulations. And we understand where the economy is going. We understand what the market has got to be. We understand what Trump's agenda is. He has no choice. Donald Trump has no choice. He has got to bring out his constituency. And the group he applies to are the uneducated, non-college graduate, Midwestern factory workers. Now, male and female. Now, if he can enlighten them, enrage them, and get them motivated, and really bring them out, he might just pull this shit off. Now, our analyst of the situation is this. Two scenarios. Donald Trump wins. If he gets the House and the Senate, that's a win for him. He becomes a very powerful political figure, and the rhetoric will just be unbelievable. The country will be more polarized than ever before, and polarized countries don't see economic growth, okay? Now, Donald Trump loses. That is another ugly scenario because now the country is going to be gripped to a constitutional crisis. Donald Trump will make it one. We believe that Mueller's dossier and file is thick enough to justify at least the bringing of impeachment charges and investigation in the House. That will only take place with a Democratic majority, and a good one. And the problem with that is that cripples the economy also. Remember, we're into a recession. 10 years of growth is over with. 10 years of quantum easing is done. Stimulation is over with. Companies have taken their cash pile and they've done distribution of it by dividends, bonuses to the upper corporate elite, and stock buybacks, which are not stimulative for the economy at all. The theory of the Laffer curve, where they're going to invest in the economy, is just not there. With Trump, pro-Trump, no Trump. Now, I want to get back to the trade war. You now are seeing for the first time trade no longer aligning with America. It's an incredible situation. I mean, since World War II, America has bought free trade of the world. And every year we've opened up more markets. Every year we've done trade deals. And we became a great country. You know, whether the trade deals were fair or right or negotiated like shit or whatever the problem with them was, they made America the wealthiest nation. They made America the most prosperous people. They made our GDP the biggest of the world, okay? So whatever the flaws were with all its warts and pimples and rash on the thing means that we still prospered because of it. Now, I submit to you that going into the opposite where we are shutting down our borders for people for immigration, shutting down our borders for trade, shutting down our borders for capital and cash flows means that we go into a deep, dark recession. I will call it a depression. You will too. And it'll take a decade to go over it. In other words, the damage that Donald Trump can inflict upon us by polarizing our trade partners. Listen, let's face facts. Purdue said, he said, shit, no use having we can't have a decent deal. We're not going to have an after deal. Mexico's going, we got the cocaine guys. We got the socialists going to power. They're going, narco state sounds good to me. Latin America, they are absolutely in trouble. U.S. is pulling aid. These countries are on their own sink or swim. We got sanctions going against Venezuela. It's driving them into the open arms of the Chinese that are down there up the ass and the Russians. Now, we're going ahead in the Middle East, and we got polarization going on there, obviously. We have Russia that's in a really strong position. And Russia now is the one that's talking moderation. Listen, I think we need to have Iran out of Syria, and we're here with our military power. America is not. And we think the sanctions is a mistake. And by the way, our European partners, 6+1 guys, do you think we should have sanctions against Iran over nukes, or should we just give a chance to renegotiate? Europeans go, oh, let's renegotiate it. So America is the antagonist. America is the bad guy. America is the one that's stopping world trade. Remember, European countries have put billions of dollars into Iran. They have billions of dollars in deals. They do not want to lose it and can't afford to. European Union has already said that if U.S. sanctions go in and these major corporations get hit on the deals they've done, they will make them whole. So we are polarizing ourselves. We're isolating ourselves. Now, that may be a good thing. That may be a bad thing. We can debate that. But in the polarization means we lose market share. We lose access to other people's markets. We close down access to our market, and we turn within. Now, in the history of the world and history of trade, that has never worked out well. Isolationism ends in ugly scenarios. Let your mind just roll around that thought of what can happen when goods and services don't cross borders and armies do. Look, we are in a situation that a limited nuclear war, and that's what we're kind of getting into, that type of antagonism, kills 600 million people initially, kills another 300 million. Well, it only wipes out 1 billion people plus. So you still got, 5-6 billion to spare. Well, that might not be such a bad idea. The question is, where are those billions at, What is a world where America is not aligned with anyone? What is a world where China is a power broker? What is a world where Russia is a nuclear power that has the ability to stand up against America and has the rest of the world aligned against us? I mean, think about it. Where are our friends, okay? We've pissed off South Korea. Japan is shitting all over itself. Europe, as you see, the leaders come get insulted and go home without a deal. Canada, one of our best trade partners ever, is talking about leaving NAFTA. Mexico, which has got all kinds of problems, represents the battleground against the hordes of Latin American poor people. Is anyone thinking about this? Is America strong enough to go against the whole world? The answer is no, we're not. Can America fight a one war? Well, talk to your military friends. I thank you for your service. And ask them if they got spare parts. Ask them if they have enough troops. Ask them if the equipment is working. And ask them if we can project our influence around the world. And the answer is we can't. The Obama-era $1 trillion in wars has cost us dearly, has affected morale and readiness. We have not rearmed, we have not re-equipped it, and we're not in a really good position. So a lot of Donald Trump's theories about the mighty military power is based on wishful thinking, is not based on a situation where we have wars in two different parts of the world at the same time. It's not based on the fact that we have the world aligned against us. And trade's a funny thing. See, war is war, and territorial demands. And it's amazing how countries will change who their enemies are and who their friends are, especially when the country they're fighting for or trying to save has something they want. Now that we're breaking up this trade situation, now that we're throwing up for grabs about who gets supplied where, all of a sudden people are looking for their own greedy moment and go, well, maybe China's not so bad after all. Maybe, China's a powerhouse in, in the Pacific down there. That's not around us. That might be okay. And then all of a sudden the Europeans are going, how antagonistic do we really want to be with Russia? Is America going to supply us fuel? Or will Donald Trump embargo it? Who is the reliable partner? See, the biggest thing about trade is its reliability. In other words, when you open up those trade channels, well, then you've got the import-export paperwork done. You have the border problems solved. You've done with the issues with tariffs and taxes. And now you can make things work. Now, the other problem is that when you start shutting down that trade and say, well, we're not going to deliver milk to Canada. And Canada says, well, we're not going to deliver you pine lumber. And Mexico says, well, okay, we're not going to build cars for you for America. Now, all of a sudden, as the trade barriers go up, then the laws go into effect, and the trade relationships that have built up over decades disappear. And trade relationships are very difficult to build and very easy to destroy. That's why everyone's saying, okay, you're right, the NAFTA deal shit. Well, it was 30 years old. There wasn't even internet when it got invented. The cell phone didn't exist. Okay, so there was a whole lot of things that no one could foresee that weren't dealt with in the agreement. Okay, China was a mere shadow of itself then, and it behooved us under Nixon to get them in, get them industrialized. Remember, if we didn't give China access to our markets, they would have all their resources going into a mighty military, which we've kind of slowed down. You know, China's bouncing between a mercantile China and a military China, and their successful trade gives a lot of weight to continuing to grow as an economic power. And I want to point out to you that economic powers are not necessarily military powers. For example, you have a mighty economic power in Japan, but they're not a military power. They're not projecting their presence anywhere. Now, that is not the case with China, but at some point you might present the countries and say, look, where is your power base really? Do you want to be a military power and fight over what? Shit islands in the middle of nowhere that nobody wants? In the days of missiles and rockets from space, you know, it's no longer necessary to have all those air bases. It's not necessary to have those missile bases. They don't really represent the projection of power they used to do. So we're moving into a direction where we're now in military confrontations. I mean, really, let's face facts. With Kim Yum Nunchucks supported by China, we're a hop, skip, and a jump between a shoot-'em-out war. Is that something we really want? The Iran situation. Russia's there. Russia's arming them. Russia's advising them. What does it take for Russia to become their ally against us and say, well, listen, we're going to protect them? So the problem is that we're moving into these areas all because of Donald Trump worried about his impeachment and worried about the House, that we're making decisions that are ignoring military complications. They are ignoring what the real economic benefit is. In other words, Donald Trump is not starting trade wars for the economic benefit of the United States. Donald Trump is starting trade wars for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is starting trade wars to invigorate his base and show them that he's going to make American factories great again. So what's happening is we're not moving into a direction where we're doing things with a lot of thought. And look, the economy is showing that. You have the slowest economy growth rate for years. It's going to be a dismal year. You have employment, but you don't have great employment, and you don't have wage gains. You don't have productivity gains. So basically, you've got people cleaning toilets and flipping hamburgers. Now you got the reality that companies that are coming under pressure to be in America can't compete. Can't compete with American labor. But here's the deal. They can compete with American robots. They can compete with technology. So what we are doing is hastening those. It's kind of ironic, right? Donald Trump wants to make factories great again, wants to make blue-collar factory workers great again, and his policies, tax plans, movements all make sure that factories open up without people. He's driving the factory automation as a matter of economic necessity. And this has far-reaching consequences I don't think any of us understand. Where is factory automation, robotics, and artificial intelligence going? All right, a lot of people want to blow blue sky up here and say, well, yeah, what's going to happen is we need people to fix those robots. No, we don't. We're going to create new jobs and new industries. You're not going to retread that 50-year-old, okay? He flunked out of algebra and calculus and spherical geometry, if he knew what it was. So he's just not there. He's not equipped for the job. And I propose to you that we're going to train someone 50 or 60 years old that I got 10-year life expectancy out of them. Let's face it, the mind's not as sharp as it was. These people have got, they bring a whole host of problems. Or do I want to trade 16 and 17 eager beaver kids that want this, understand it, grew up in a digitized world, okay? I mean, you remember, you're trying to train people that have never written a line of code, are still amazed by their smartphone, and don't really get the technology. As versus a kid that's all he's known is technology. He's written code, he's played video games. AI is something he's had, wanted, and needs. So there's an illusion that this Donald Trump trade wars, even if it brings factory automation, robotics, will bring great jobs to factory people retrained. You know, we have talked 50 years about retraining people in the factories. Okay? I don't know if you know it, the NAFTA bill actually had training money budgeted aside for people whose jobs were lost because of NAFTA. Never happened. AT&T started trying to train a lot of the telecom workers. And what kind of jobs they got them? Nurse assistant, X-ray technician. I mean, nothing burger jobs that went nowhere. The reality is, nobody's going to retrain shit. People are not going to redeploy. People are going to lose their jobs. And I'll tell you where we're going. We're going to a socialist system where they'll be getting if you're displaced, the way I see this happening in the future is, you'll get a mandatory minimal paycheck. And you'll sit home and do nothing. And you'll smoke. The marijuana will be legal, so you can get stoned on really good shit. And if you talk to enough doctors, you'll get your opioids prescription, and you can stay looted high, wigged out all day long. So that's the direction we're moving. We're not moving into a renaissance of high-paying jobs for low-skilled people. That is just not going to happen. And starting trade wars means that what we really do have a market edge in is forcing companies. See, the other side of the equation is, we are the technological leader. We are the technological provider. We are the ones that are innovating on the service side of the ledger. The service economy, which includes computers and software and that kind of thing, for some cockamamie reason, we have a surplus with the whole world. Okay, so what's happening is we're trying to drive an equation where, hell, we're going to be the factories where we can't compete, and we're killing off the software and the other side of the ledger because if we've got a trade war, they're not doing business with us. And as you're seeing that developing, you're basically shooting yourself in your great big foot. In other words, America needs to be the software leader. We need to be artificial intelligence leader. We need to be the coding innovators. We need to bring the marvelous devices of the new age to market. And it sure shit ain't steel and aluminum and coal. So by starting a war over stupid shit, like car imports, and starting a trade war with everyone over things that are not consequential, we end up getting a retaliation among the things that really are profitable and we really master. And we drive the rest of the world saying, okay, well, we are not getting the computer software, the artificial intelligence devices developed from America. Well, we're going to have to invest in that technology ourselves. And all of a sudden, the world is, and listen to me carefully, is looking for, how do we look without America as the powerhouse? How do we look without America, as Donald Trump said, we're not the policeman of the world, we're not the defender of the world. You got to pay your own bills. And all people are saying, well, China said, well, you know what? I'll help you guys. If America doesn't want to be the defender of the world, well, I think we can help fill that role. So now what's happening is we're acquiescing an enviable role. Listen, if you're a world power, you're automatically the world's with the wealthiest people, okay? England, when it was a world power, was the wealthiest nation on earth, okay? They controlled markets. As soon as they gave that up, well, they became a shadow of their former self. And this is the road that our leaders that don't understand that. Yeah, I want to be the policeman of the world. Yeah, I want to be the military superpower. I want to be the one that decides who does what and the only superpower. And then I enforce my trade on you. I force my will on you. And I become big boy king of the mound. Now, once I give that spot up, well, then that means I'm inferior. That means that someone else is policing the world according to their view. And I guarantee that China's view of the world is not the same as ours. So, yes, Donald Trump is starting trade wars to get elected and only do that. It will wipe out the economy. It will drive England and Europe and Australia and Japan and even South Korea into the hands of the welcoming hands of the Chinese. And that, my friends, will end up very badly. That has economic consequences. That has military consequences. And you do not want to live in a world where China's in control. And we are headed in that stupid-ass direction. Donald Trump is, remember, got one thing on mind. House of Representatives, no collusion, no impeachment, win it.